almost asked him if he wanted one today.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting and motion to close part of the meeting, May 15th, 2018. Can I have a moment of silence?
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Comments from the public? Hearing none? Chris, is this where you want to?
Yeah. I put a copy of minutes with yellow on it. I accidentally had Councilmember Lodahl instead of Councilmember Pierce. And at the very last, it should say Councilmember, or C. Pierce, comma, yes. And so those have been corrected.
Okay.
I saw former council member Lodahl when I was out on a break in between the meetings, and I told her that story. Appreciated your thinking about her.
Oh.
He wants to talk to you about it too later on.
Consent agenda?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Zoning ordinance text amendments, Chapter 17.66, Burlington Corridor Overlay, Conditional Uses. Bill number 7292, ordinance number 9089.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This proposed amendment concerns our Burlington Corridor Overlay District and the list of permitted, prohibited, and conditional uses as part of that overlay. Currently, in all of the city, except along the Burlington Corridor, we allow temporary parking areas or structures as the primary use of a lot only with a conditional use permit. And the Burlington Corridor Overlay District made this a prohibited use along the Burlington Corridor. At the request of the mayor, we have prepared an amendment that would make temporary parking uses or structures a conditional use in the central area of the Burlington Corridor Overlay, which extends from 16th Avenue to 23rd Avenue. I do want to underline that approval of this amendment would not allow any particular development to go forward. It would just allow us to accept an application for a conditional use permit for this type of use. The Planning Commission held the required public hearing at their meeting on May 3rd, and 2 people spoke in favor of the amendment. They unanimously recommended approval to you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry. The conditional use permit, once they apply, it would come to us for approval of that specific conditional use.
Yes, conditional use permits require a public hearing before the Planning Commission and require them to take action to make a recommendation to you for final approval.
Okay, great. I'm all for it. Thank you.
Why would this have been labeled a prohibited use to begin with? I mean, how do you feel about the change to conditional use?
Well, I believe that this was listed as a prohibited use on the Burlington Corridor Overlay because the goal of that overlay district was to regulate the goals of the Burlington Corridor Overlay Plan, which wanted to see buildings built up against the right-of-way to better frame the corridor. And so there was a real anti-recommendation for having gaps or open spaces along the corridor. It recommended the parking areas be located to the side or rear of buildings so that we were defining that street frontage.
Okay. So you would be fine with the change to conditional use for that area?
Well, this would be the least amendment that would allow any particular use like a parking lot to go forward.
Okay. I don't feel like I'm a huge fan of this. I feel like it's not the best it's a better use, but not the best use of this. I think once you open it up, it allows not just that space, but then you kind of, other areas could
Right.
come in with conditional
I would
permit as well.
also point out that this allows us to accept an application. Any applications would still have to comply with our general parking lot design requirements, the requirements of the C2 downtown zoning district, other requirements of the Burlington Corridor overlay, which do have requirements about parking lot screening and landscaping for all types of development, and our typical site plan review requirements. So this is not necessarily allowing someone to just pave a lot and stripe it. There are other requirements that would have to be met, in addition to any conditions which you would like to place on a conditional use permit. So conditional use permits, you could, you all could decide to approve those with your own set of requirements in addition.
Thank you.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending Chapter 17.66 Burlington Corridor Overlay District of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending a certain subpart of Section 17.66.030 regarding temporary parking areas or structures at line 21 as identified under conditional uses.
I move that bill number 7292 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9089.
Second?
Call roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Nope.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance amending Chapter 17.66 Burlington Corridor Overlay District of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending a certain subpart of Section 17.66.030 regarding temporary parking areas or structures at line 21 as identified under conditional uses.
Oh, good. We need to call roll on this, or?
Did I not call roll? I called roll.
Oh, okay, all right.
We're on the next
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
Yeah, we're ready for item 12. Agreement with North Kansas City Historical Society Caboose Preservation, Resolution number 18-026.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. Last November, the City Council heard an initial request by the North Kansas City Historical Society that the city provide funding for preservation efforts for the railroad caboose located in Caboose Park. So the society is now requesting $20,000 for those preservation efforts. They'd involve replacement of windows, remodeling of steps in the landing area, electrical compliance, construction of a platform, and exterior painting. Might also, if there are still funds remaining, involve interior improvements to the caboose. So an agreement is now before the City Council, which would provide that the society would have until December 31st, 2019 to complete any work on the caboose refurbishment. They'd need to provide us receipts for labor and material, and then any funds that would be remaining, they would return to the city. So now before you for your consideration is an agreement with the Historical Society that would provide for the funding and terms of that funding.
And the funding would come out of the Convention and Tourism Fund, correct?
Yes, sir, and I have provided to you a
Yes,
revised
you have.
outlook for the Convention and Tourism Fund that shows what that particular funding would do with the fund balance over the next 5 years.
Don?
It says on here that they would have until December the 31st of 2019 to complete the work, but they have to turn the money in by August the 31st of the same year? How are they going to?
Where are you looking,
Take away
sir?
the money.
On here, on the agenda.
How are they going to complete?
I'm
the
sorry,
project?
sir. I apologize for that. That's a typo. Originally, we started this several months ago, and that was the original deadline, and I've just failed to change that on the blurb that's on your agenda. But December 31st is what it reads in the agreement that's before you.
But I mean, they have, just any funds left over on August.
They would
the 30th.
return by December 31st,
December,
2019. The
okay.
typo is
Yeah, it
saying
looks-
August.
Looks like it's correct in the memo, just
Yes,
incorrect in that little blurb on the
yes,
agenda,
that's
right? Okay.
correct.
The president of the Horse Historical Society is here. Would you like to hear from him a little? I think we've got some good news. Wanna
Well, I was wondering what we were gonna do with it after it looked all pretty, but maybe you can tell us.
Yeah, put it in.
An organized answers.
Hello, I'm James Spawn. I'm the president of the Historical Society of North Kansas City. And since we saw you last November about the project, we spent a lot of time on becoming acquainted with what's involved with the caboose. We've become members of the Burlington Northern Historical Society, or Friends of the organization, which is a collection of people doing just what we're doing, trying to preserve them accurately, these cabooses. I think they're going to be a great source for us in giving us detailed information. You can see the drawing there that shows exactly how the lettering should be placed and the size and so forth. I asked them, is there a template where we could get the exact BS logo? Because that's going to have to be redone when we paint. And the lettering size and font. Yeah, we can get all that stuff for you. So I think it's going to be a good marriage or friendship to have with that organization as we charge forward. We've also looked closer at the caboose inside. I think it's very salvageable. There's some wood rot that we can deal with. We can do that. Our friends that are going to do the windows have looked at the windows and said, yes, we believe there's a way to do that. But again, they've never done it, so it's kind of a one-up thing. But we're very optimistic that we can get the program done, and we can get the program done in a time frame that the agreement specifies.
And you're still considering putting artifacts inside of it as well?
Well, I don't know. Not with the $20,000. We're asking for donations on both our Facebook page and also that other little app they have. Yeah. Nextdoor, which has got a lot of readership in the city. So you just never know what somebody's going to produce that they might have ratted away. And, you know, I think railroad guys or people, they rat that stuff away, and if you can charm them into donating something. What I hope to see in the end is that the wooden walkway in the front of it, right now there's pea gravel there, which doesn't do much to walk on or anything like that. We'd put the wooden walkway or platform on top of that, and it would replicate a train station where you can hear the clop, clop, clop on the wood of the whole length of that thing. And then once that's done, that opens opportunities to have small events there or things of that nature on a nice day too. But as far as getting real donations, not yet. But we're working towards that. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's an excellent idea. I think that it's well timed. It's going to be a nice little jewel for North Kansas City to add to the very ambiances that we have here. So more power to you.
Thank you, sir.
If you want to donate, again, do you just go on the Facebook page or go on the Nextdoor?
Either one.
Just I've seen it on Nextdoor.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we anything that we can find that's related to railroading, why we want, especially Burlington Northern rather.
And are you just accepting donations for items, or are you also accepting cash donations?
Oh, we always accept cash.
All right. I figured you would, but I just want to make sure before I started.
Haven't got any yet, but we're accepting.
All right, well, we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can help you out with it. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Opposed? Oh, man. 13.
Budget Amendment, Convention and Tourism Fund, Agreement with North Kansas City Historical Society, Resolution Number 18-027.
I just have a quick question on this one. I thought we had budgeted for this coming year, did we not?
No, we had not budgeted.
We talked about it, but I
We
guess
talked
we
about
didn't
it last
actually do
November,
it?
but we never actually took any
Oh,
kind of
okay.
official action.
Okay, that just confused me when I saw that, because I thought we'd done it, but, okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 14.
Budget amendment, expenditures for fire dispatch operations, resolution number 18-028.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll turn to the Fire Chief, Dave Hargis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is when we transferred back to our North Kansas City Police Department dispatch, there were costs associated with that were not budgeted for since we anticipated on staying with Kansas City Fire Dispatch. So this is to cover those costs of reprogramming and terminating a data contract is what this is to cover. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have one. On this data circuit penalty for the termination, who does that go to? Is that going to Kansas City or?
That's AT&T.
AT&T.
It's for the early termination of a contract.
And so the contract was with AT&T to provide that when we had it for Casey Fire Dispatch. So Casey, that's our responsibility. They're not able to help us out with anything on that since we terminated our contract with.
That's correct.
Okay. Just wondered who it was going to. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 15.
Modifications to language in business license ordinance. Bill number 7290, ordinance number 9087.
Eric?
Thanks, sir. I'll turn to the Assistant City Administrator, Kim Nakahodo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Missouri Municipal League alerted us to a House Bill number 1261, which would prohibit municipalities from licensing occupation or professions that is licensed within the state of Missouri. This bill does allow municipalities to issue business licenses. However, many cities refer to their business licenses as occupation licenses within the code, including the city of North Kansas City. That bill would have unintended consequences if you refer to it within your code. Staff proposes some modifications within the language, and within your packet was a redlined version of that code, as well as some cleanup language that we found along the way regarding the former city collector position. If you guys have any questions about anything, I'm happy to answer that.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 5.04, Business Licenses Generally, of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7290 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9087.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 5.04, Business Licenses Generally, of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
16.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through May 11th, 2018. Bill number 7293, ordinance number 9090.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through May 11th, 2018.
I move that bill number 7293 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9090.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through May 11th, 2018.
Okay. Eric?
Thanks, sir. I'd like to give a couple of updates on the fire that occurred last week at 1900 Swift. First, I'll call on the Fire Chief, Dave Hargis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to talk a little bit about what went on last week. I know that in the press and my department's got a lot of kudos for the work we did down there, but I wanted to make sure that we properly thank the rest of the city departments. It was really a team effort by everybody in the city that night. the police department not only dispatching us, they helped with the evacuation of the buildings that were, they were able to get into that weren't filled with smoke. They helped us with the evacuation. They provided us traffic control, crowd control. As a matter of fact, Major Freeman was directing traffic at one of the intersections for a period of time down there. So they, Chief Beamer was there on site for part of the time, and we were in constant contact. If anything I needed, he provided me. Everything we asked for, we got just immediately. Public Works, the water department, they kicked the pumps on, they monitored the reservoir. The street department people were down there, they were erecting barricades. At one point, we had an issue with our vendor that's supposed to provide us with fuel for the trucks. His guys were actually brought over gas cans to put fuel in our apparatus for us. So kudos to those guys. They were down there with us throughout the night working, and anything we asked for, we got from them as well. Community Development was down there. David Harris was on site helping us assess what was going on with the structure of the building. We worked with NT Realty on getting them set up for streamlining the things that were going to come in the future with permits and things like that. So I want to thank them for assisting us with that, because it kept that away from us with people wanting to know what was going on. Eric was down there in constant contact with us. Kim was our PIO. She did a great job of corralling the media for us. The press conferences that I gave, she set those up, let me know what was going on. She scheduled them. We worked together. It was really smooth. Every other department in the city made my job a lot easier that day, and we could concentrate on what we needed to do. So I just wanted to make sure that all the rest of the departments got the proper thanks. I know that we've gotten a lot of it from the public, and I just don't think everybody knows what a team effort it was with all the departments in the city. Hogjaw Barbecue provided us with food during the fire. Scott Lemaster and Taking It to the Streets organization, it's a nonprofit organization. They brought us restrooms, a cooling station, and they actually provided an area to keep the food and gave us drinks and stuff, and that was all free. Actually the restroom trailer was a big deal because we were down there for over 12 hours, and it was nice to have some place where we didn't have to go into a business somewhere. And they were there as well Wednesday morning with coffee and snacks for the guys as we were finishing up. So that was a lot of kudos goes out to them as well. So I just wanted to thank everybody for the support from the rest of the departments, because it really made our job a lot easier.
I think Hogjaw he's a fireman in Kansas City, isn't he?
That's correct.
That's what I thought.
Did you bring the meat raw and just cook it right there? On
No, they had us pulled pork wrap sandwiches and trays of barbecue sauce.
Their barbecue is really good.
So,
I'm really impressed by their barbecue.
Yeah,
I love their burnt ends.
it was a lot better than a cold sandwich or a bag
Yeah,
of
for
McDonald's
sure.
hamburgers. So
Good.
Thank you, Chief. And I'd like for an update on the status of the building. I'd like to call on the building official, David Harris.
Good evening. The Pioneer Building, today the owner, Northtown Development Company, they continue to work with their insurance carrier to continue to pump out the water in the basement. Their contractor also has submitted for an application for a selective demolition permit, which we are finding that it's in proper order, and will probably issue the permit in the morning. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you, David. And I'd like to call on the Public Works Director, Pat Hauber.
I'm going to read a proclamation honoring, recognizing National Public Works Week, which begins May 20th and ends May 26th. Whereas National Public Works Week was established in 1960 by the American Public Works Association to educate the public of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to the health, safety, and well-being of the people of North Kansas City. Whereas public works services include processing and distributing drinking water,
maintenance and improvements of storm sewers, sanitary sewers, streets, trees, public buildings, and flood prevention systems. And whereas the employees of North Kansas City Public Works serve the public every day with quiet dedication to maintain the infrastructure today and plan for the improvements of the future. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Don Stilo, Mayor of North Kansas City, Missouri, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of North Kansas City, hereby declares May 20th through May 26th, 2018 as Public Works Week, done this 15th day of May 2018. Thank you.
They need to be recognized.
That concludes staff comments.
Okay.
Am I up? I have several things to say today. Well, first of all, in honor of Public Works, National Public Works Week, thank you to your team for starting on our alleys, the work you're doing, I think, on 30th Avenue right now, so thank you for that. And I can't say much more than the chief said on the fire. You did an excellent job giving an overview of that. You could tell, even watching the news, how much teamwork was going on behind the scenes. I have to say, just from my perspective, it was very hard to concentrate on my day job because I was live streaming everything, you know, for hours, what was going on. Even though it wasn't anything to watch, it was the same thing over and over again, you know, obviously, but it was very moving and concerning, and of course we were all worried about it, even if we weren't standing down there watching you. So thank you for everything you did, and Kim and everyone else who was part of that process. So thank you. We had a really interesting session at 6 p.m. talking about Communities for All Ages program. That was really interesting, I thought, and a lot of people I think will really gravitate to that, so hopefully we can move forward to that. And congratulations to some Parks Board reappointments that we had on the agenda tonight. I'm excited about the caboose renovations. Reminder that we have citywide garage sale this Saturday, May 19th, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I'm going to have a garage sale. I hate garage sales. I hate putting on garage sales. But I'm having one on Saturday, so if you want to see a disgruntled person holding a garage sale, just come on by. Northgate Village. I'm sure we'll have lots of sales over there. I have to say my signs will be the most creative because they were done by 12-year-olds, and 12-year-olds make some pretty good yard sale
Can we come
signs.
early?
Yeah, no earlier than 7, though, because I will be really disgruntled before 7. And then also I wanted to say I'm loving the second Saturdays. Those are really picking up. I mean, they started over the winter, so it was hard to really get some momentum, but now that the weather's a little better, those are picking up, and we're having a lot of fun things happening on second Saturdays. And this last Saturday, I got to meet 2 alpacas and a goat at Calibration Brewery. 4-H Club was down there, so that was fun. And that was all I had.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big list. I had a big list tonight.
Everything she
Beat
said.
that, Sanders.
Everything she said. No, I don't have anything else.
Thanks. I got a couple of things to reiterate what Valerie said about the garage sale this Saturday, the 19th. And then I don't know if we have another meeting before or not, but the DAG Spray Ground looks like slated to open May 26th. So I'm sure that'll make a lot of kids happy to go be able to go hang out in the fountains. So did that. I also wanted to thank the firefighters and all the city departments on the way that they worked for the fire. You know, watching a little bit of coverage on news, and I actually had access to a scanner and be able to hear some of the communications. And one of the newly promoted, I think it was the newly promoted Joe Reynolds, you said, Chief, was running command on that, and did a really good job. Everybody was very professional, and I'm glad that you know, they were able to save the other buildings around. Let's see. One other question, and I don't know if I didn't notice this before or not. Are these new monitors here in front of us? Because they're bigger, and whoever put them in there, God bless you. They're easier for me to see. So whoever did that, thank you. They're really easy to see. And I also wanted to say thanks to the Parks Board members that are re-upping again this year. So I believe that's all I've got.
Well, I just like to say, give my appreciation to all the individuals that participated in the fighting the fire. That's the big news. that also included Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department did it, and Gladstone. And I was amazed. I was. Maybe it doesn't take much to amaze me, but how fast the ATF came up with the cause of that fire. It was a good job by them. The question I have for the city administrator is, has there been any progress made on the possible use of the new Parks and Recreation building for voters' use?
We've talked to the Parks Board about it. They have a few questions, so we're going to put them together with the county officials in charge of elections. So we're still working on that.
It looks like it's going forward, though.
Well, I want to make sure the Parks Board has got all its questions answered, but we're moving forward to try to get them answers, and we'll let you know.
Well, thank you. Another thing, I'm pretty sure that this week is National Police Week. I think it was either today or yesterday the president gave they said it was a very good speech concerning National Police Week. And that is for current and fallen police officers. Also, everyone seems to take my thunder on the city's answer to eBay, which is this Saturday is the citywide garage sale. And also on Saturday is going to be Armed Forces Day. And the 26th, as was mentioned, May 26th, Saturday, the spray park opens over at Dag Park. And then, of course, I want to mention that Memorial Day is Monday, May 28th. One thing I would like to ask the fire chief, did we use the drones?
The day of the actual fire, the wind speed was too high to fly the drone, but we did utilize it in the investigation. We took video and photographs with the drone that the ATF used along with our investigator in the final investigation. So we did use it. It was useful in the investigation phase of it, but during the fire, the wind speeds were too high.
I think that was a very good idea to call in the ATF on that. Thank you.
The ATF, just to kind of explain that, our investigator and fire marshal are part of the KC Arson Task Force, which involves the ATF, and they have developed a relationship with our local ATF office, and the investigator saw the smoke from his office and came down and offered us the help of their team right off the bat. So it gave them some experience, and it helped us as well.
And it took them, what, 2-3 hours to figure that out?
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Wanted to thank everybody. It was a big turnout for vaccination day for the dogs. I think we had 70 plus, and most of the dogs were well behaved. And I see now that we're going forth and having what few ash trees we have left in the city treated. That should take, what, Pat, a couple of weeks to do or so?
We think approximately next Tuesday they'll be finished, and they're only treating the ones that are determined to be in good condition.
Correct.
We still have many that are coming out.
Correct. Are we going to harvest anymore?
Yes.
We are? Yeah. And speaking of the fire, watching the fire on Channel 5, and I got a call from a friend of mine, said, oh, you need to go down there, the city's on fire. I said, that's the last thing they need to have me down in the city. So you guys did fine.
Well, it sounds like pretty much everything is taken, but it is worth noting again, thank you for all the efforts on the fire. I mean, it was a great community effort. I think Kim did a great job, and Chief Hargis did a great job representing the community, especially when it came to the media aspect of it. And so thank you.
I'd also like to say thank you. I've said thank you individually. I do have a couple of other things. I'd like to thank our city administrator. We had talked about the problem with the league ball, and he really took the ball with us, no pun intended. And there are some of us who are going to meet with the school board tomorrow night. So I really appreciate that, Eric. You jumped right on it. I know the people in my ward are appreciative of it because it is a big issue with them. I also would like to thank you for checking into the street cleaning on both the entrances of the current construction project. I had made one of my residents made a suggestion that perhaps we go by in the evening on occasion. I did drive by there because you said something about the trucks, and they're all gone by 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Most of them are
We do
gone.
plan to do it in the evening next time.
That's perfect, and I really appreciate you jumping right on that, too. Thank you.
Everything's been said. I'm done. Okay, number 20.
Consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
Number 21, consideration of a request to hold in recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Who made the motion?
Clevenger, sorry.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's on first?
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.